Hey, Washington football fans. Today, I was going to do a win-loss projection for the season. When I was getting everything ready, Rxch NGL on YouTube dropped a video with a possible leaked schedule. So I took a look at that, and we're going to work off that, assuming that it is the schedule. It doesn't matter. The main point, what I was originally going to do, was I was just going to see how we stack up against the teams that we're going to, play. The time of the season doesn't really matter, and the way I'm evaluating this anyway. We won't know who's injured, but just from the perfect standpoint where we stand. So I'm going to make my projection of what I think we're going to do this season. And I'm also going to go over how I think we did in the offseason and how it affects our wins and losses. And I'm also going to talk about the teams we play, what they did to improve or not to improve, or how they got worse, in my opinion, in the offseason. So I'm going to start out here by reading this schedule off. I'm going to put it up on the screen. But week 1, the Giants come to us. Week 2, we go to Dallas. Week 3, Seattle comes to us. Week 4, we go to Green Bay. Week 5, the Saints come to us. Week 6, we go to Vegas. Week 7, Philly comes to us. Week 8, we go to Atlanta. Week 9 is the bye. Week 10, the Chiefs come to us. Week 11, we go to Carolina. Week 12, we go to New York. Week 13, Tampa Bay comes to us. Week 14, the Chargers come to us. Week 15, we go to Philly. Week 16, we go to Denver. Week 17, Dallas comes to us. And then just because they're not on the schedule, but we know we play them, Week 18, I went ahead and slotted in the Bills. So that's the league schedule. I mean, at the very least, we know those are the teams we're going to be playing. So, first of all, let's look at what we did this offseason. Right off the top, we had a huge upgrade at cornerback, swapping out Darby for William Jackson III. William Jackson III is a former first rounder, super talented guy. Definitely, in my opinion, a Pro Bowl talent player, if not all pro. I think he is going to have a career season behind this defensive line. He's going to ball out, and he's going to look like one of the best signings any team made this free agency. We also had a meeting with Bobby McCain, the free safety from the Dolphins, yesterday. And we haven't had word of any signings yet, but if we get him, that's going to be another great upgrade. Last year, PFF had our offensive line ranked 6th going down the stretch. Well, that was without the helps of draft pick that year, Sadiq Charles. Sadiq Charles was ranked 39th by PFF in the draft of all players, and he slid because of some off-field issues. Those have proved not to be a problem with us. He suffered an injury, but we should have him back healthy this year, and that'll be a big bump up for the offensive line that was already doing pretty good. To even add further to that, we drafted Sam Cosmi at pick 51. I had this guy. I was thinking he was going to go in like the 27 to like 34 range. Like, this guy was going to be a late first rounder, early second rounder to me. He's super athletic. He's an amazing athlete at the position. He's just a little raw. Nothing even, it's not horrible. It's not like horrible technique, but he kind of, like, just the idea of how he almost reminds me of like Tristan Wirth, the way he was last year. Not quite as fast, but as far as athleticism goes, that's kind of what he reminds me of. Just a little bit raw. And we saw how fast someone like Tristan Wirth got to the league and balled out. I think Sam Cosmi can do that, and he can be our franchise left tackle. Sadiq Charles take Morgan Moses' job on the right side, and we'll have 2 young, super talented guys for the next 10 years. I think that could really work out. Also, we had a meeting with Charles Leno, who's a Pro Bowl caliber left tackle from the Bears. Just adding him as a quality depth piece. I mean, there's not going to be a situation this year, even in the worst case, where we don't put a quality offensive line on the field. We're just so deep and everybody's versatile. Everybody can do everything along the line, and everybody is a quality player. So even if the injury bug bites us, Ryan Fitzpatrick, or even possibly Heineke, fingers crossed, will have plenty of time to take care of one of the other things we upgraded. The speed at wide receiver. We had Terry McLaurin kind of lonely out there. Well, we picked up Curtis Samuel, who's dangerous in every spot on the field. And then we got the best deep threat in college in the draft in De'Ami Brown. We also got, skilled slot specialist Adam Humphries and rookie Dax Milne. This dude, he runs crispy routes. This guy could make Adam Humphries obsolete as the second to last pick in the draft. This guy could really, this was Zach Wilson's go-to guy. He's very skilled. He's just maybe a little underwhelming athletically, but we've seen this type of guy make it big in the league before. I mean, this guy could possibly be like a Jordy Nelson type, maybe. He could possibly be like that. Just a nice, crisp route runner, not super fast, but always gets open. That's Dax Milne. And then Harmon will hopefully find his way back to the team after injury. Got my fingers crossed that he makes it. AGG, he had a rough season last year. He got COVID. He hurt himself. He didn't get many snaps at all. So hopefully he'll progress. We'll have a nice big target out there. And if our defensive line that was so dominant last year even progresses a little bit as it should, second year playing together, it's going to be nasty. We get Ioannidis back from injury. He didn't get to play at all. Maybe 2 or 3 games last year, but he's getting to come back to Rec House. That's our best interior pass rusher. So that's great. Then we added a lot of we added some much needed speed to the linebacker core. Got Jamin Davis in the first round. And then 7th round steal, Shaka Toney's going to convert to linebacker. He's got a lot of speed. Last year, our defense was ranked 2nd. And it's crazy to think that it got better. But that, along with upgrading at quarterback, the receiving core, making a strong O-line stronger. We even added a nice complimentary running back and as an undrafted free agent. We had a great offseason, and a lot of people consider it one of the best off seasons that any team had this year, let alone in our division. We blew our division away. But let's go ahead and go right into our division, because week 1 we play the Giants. And I'm only going to talk about the Giants once. We play them, of course, twice. We play them in week 1 and then week 12. I'm going to do the division and then move into the schedule. So, starting out with the Giants, they brought in some offensive weapons with Galladay and Ross, and then they drafted Kadarius Toney. I mean, that's all well and good. We might have to worry about Galladay and Ross in game 1. I don't think they're going to have Toney figured out yet, because he's going to be a guy they kind of have to work on the scheme with to get him, fully worked out how they're going to use him. But and then Galladay and Ross might not be a factor later on in the year because they can't seem to stay healthy. So either way, I don't think we're going to have to worry about the full might of that. And it's not going to matter anyway because they didn't really do anything to upgrade their offensive line. And with the speed we added at linebacker, Danny Boy's not going to have a chance to break off, 40, 60, 70-yard runs on us. So he's going to have to try to beat us with his arm, and he's just not going to have the time. I mean, they added Azeez Ojulari for their pass rush, but otherwise there's nothing impressive there. They added Ryan Anderson, and he might play really hard against us to try to, stick it to us for letting them go. But man, it does not look good for the Giants. And I see us returning the favor for last year and shutting them out 2-0 this year. Bit of payback. Week 2, we go to Dallas, and week 17 they come to us. That's man, they had a train wreck of an offseason, I really think, with the whole Dak situation taking all that time. I mean, they got him back and they got him signed, but what good is he going to do? Like, his offensive line, if it's healthy, is a complete shell of its former self. And Zeke, I mean, he's going to be dependent on that offensive line for him to get the run game going. It's just like, it's not looking good for him. They didn't do anything to really address their problems. Didn't do anything to make the defense better. Like, they got Micah Parsons, the number 1 defensive player in the draft. But they're already, like, linebackers already their only good position on defense. Now, I understand, and the 2 best players they got in the draft were linebackers, with Micah Parsons and Jabril Cox. But the problem with that is, I mean, I guess they're just looking to stay the same in the future. Like, they're real deep this year, but they're going to lose Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch next year in free agency because all the money they gave Dak and then Zeke before him, like, they can't afford to keep them. So they're just looking ahead to stay good there. But after that, every other pick they made was a reach. Their cornerback they got at the beginning of the second round, I had him as a late 3rd rounder. I actually had him graded as a 4th rounder early on, but kind of let him move up to the end of the 3rd. And then the other corner they got, Nashawn Wright, man, nobody saw that guy as draftable. Like, I didn't even have him on any of my lists. And comments were made that, like, this guy, nobody even had him on the draft board. Like, you watched him, you saw how he was, how bad it was, and outside of being 6'4", he had no redeemable qualities. He's like 6'4", like 180 pounds. He's like super skinny, and like, he just doesn't. It was a horrible pick, especially in like the 3rd round, late 3rd round or something. They did get Israel Mukamu. And he's pretty good, but it's still not looking good for him. The picks, their defensive linemen they drafted were all early for what they were projected, and they're not like high impact players. Simi Fehoko, they got later on. It might have been like the 5th or 6th round, a wide receiver. Great prospect. But they don't need wide receivers. So, horrible pick. And then Josh Ball. The fact that they drafted him at all is kind of ridiculous. This kid, not a good human being by several accounts. And he didn't have the talent to be drafted there either. I mean, at best, considering the talent without the off-field issues, you might have looked at this guy as like a 7th rounder. And once you factor those in, I wouldn't like, Ron Rivera wouldn't even say hi to this guy if he walked by him in the hallway. That's just how it is. And then the last guy they got, like, he's another one of those players. The last offensive lineman, they're like, who? Like, who's that guy? So, horrible draft from them. Honestly, I think it's the beginning of a dark era for the Cowboys. All the money they're paying out, they had to draft perfectly, and it was far from that. I got us sweeping them this year. I don't care what anybody says. It's not just being a fan, it's how bad that team is. The defense is awful. They didn't do anything to fix it. Their offensive line is breaking down. And if that happens, what good is it to have a $40 million quarterback, a $20 million running back, and all those wide receivers when the line breaks down as soon as you hike the ball? Dark times for Dallas coming up. Sorry to tell you guys. But yeah, sweeping them. So, if you're counting, that's 4 wins I've projected so far. And then we got the Eagles. They are not the third team we play. Like I said, I wanted to go ahead and finish the division out while we were here. We don't play the Eagles until week 7 and then again in week 15, but I just wanted to finish the division out here. The Eagles, they're actually, for as bad as they've been playing, they're actually a pretty fairly rounded team. They're just all at the wrong ends of their career. They're just all long in the tooth and been kind of beat down by injuries. Their D-line was pretty close to ours. Like, it wasn't as impactful from the edge as ours, but they were a dominant defensive line in 2017. Like, I really think that line is what won them the Super Bowl. But they're diminished. They're getting older. They did some things to try to refresh them in the draft. I mean, that might help out a little bit. Their offensive line used to be really good too, and it's just kind of aged and broke down. They got some good draft picks to try to refresh that. I mean, if you take their tight end group and factor it into their wide receivers, like, they have a pretty good receiving core. They got a couple good tight ends. They got a couple good wide receivers. The problem is, their quarterback hasn't shown himself to be that great of a passer of the football. But what he does offer is an excellent ability to pick up plays with his legs. And you mix that, they've got some really, really good running backs on the squad too. So if they can get that offensive line kind of going, they can have a pretty dangerous run game, some read option type stuff. But overall, I honestly think Dallas, everybody's talking about Dallas winning the division. It might be a real shocker. It's going to be a race to the bottom with Philly. And I think Philly's future looks better, honestly. I mean, they're going to be crap this year, and that's why I got us shutting them out too. And as hard as this schedule is, I think we're going to need to sweep the division, but I think we're perfectly capable of doing it. So yeah, I got us sweeping the division. Clean sweep. This is barring injuries, just as the way everything stands. That's how I honestly see it happening. I can't see any of them beating us. Like, I know how we all play each other harder. There's nothing on their team that I feel like can handle what we have. And so moving on from the division, week 3, we have Seattle. Now, this is going to be when people start taking real notice. Russell Wilson is always a threat. They got some great value and added Stone Forsythe in the draft, but he's the developmental guy at tackle, but he's got a lot of promise. Other than that, the offensive line isn't doing him any favors. And our team at this point is tailor-made to beat Russell Wilson. The speed and the dominance up front. And now we have layers with speedy linebackers. We got 2 starter quality strong safeties. It's the perfect recipe to punish Russell Wilson. On defense, Jamal Adams, they got him. He's a great defensive playmaker. We'd have to worry about him. Their linebacking core is still very capable, but they're getting a little long in the tooth. With all the speed we got, I think, offensively we put on a show. And I think defensively, Russell Wilson's one of the best, but I just don't think he has enough around him. And he has a very bad day when he comes to FedEx Field. And that is another win. That'll be 3 wins in a row right out the gate. And by this point, the beating that I think we're going to put on Seattle, the league's really going to take notice. Like, Seattle's kind of not in a great point, but when we beat Russell Wilson, I think people are really going to start to be like, hey, Washington, 3-0, this looks kind of serious. And that's just the beginning, in my opinion. Then we go to Green Bay. Right? Yeah, we go to... Well, apparently, according to this schedule, we go to Green Bay. So, first of all, I think Rodgers is out of there. Rodgers is not going to play for Green Bay. Everybody seems to think that. But if he stays in Green Bay, I think we could still beat him. If he leaves, they're definitely toast. But actually, we can beat him at Green Bay, but if he goes to Denver, we'll have some problems. I actually think he might end up in Denver. If he doesn't come to play with us, he's not going to play for Green Bay. So I think we have Green Bay. I think we go 4-0 right out of the gate. People are going to be like, God, you're such a homer. But seriously, looking at what we have, if they don't have Rodgers, we crush them. Like they have a good wide receiver. They got a couple good running backs. They got pretty good pass rush, with the Smith brothers. But honestly, I don't think they're equipped to beat us. Even with Rodgers, it would be neck and neck because of our defense and then all of our shiny new weapons on offense. But with Rodgers gone, that's just you just write them off like that. They're done. Saints, we have a field day. Saints is the next where they come to us. Saints come to us. So if you're keeping score, we're 4-0 to this point. We done beat Green Bay. If Rodgers is there, maybe we don't. But I don't look for him to be there. So I think we got that. But, so the Saints come to us. This is going to be a rough time for Jameis Winston. We're going to force a lot of mistakes. And we're going to capitalize on them. Now, they have a very dynamic secondary, too, and it's going to be tough. Our guy, if Fitzmagic's out there, he's been prone to throw an interception from a time or two, so it's going to be rough for him, but I think we can lean on our defense, lean on our run game, and we could just spread their second. We can spread them out so thin that we can find the plays to make the game. And it's not Drew Brees anymore. It's Jameis Winston. Okay, so yeah, Brees retiring made this pretty easy. Honestly, they still got a good secondary, but that's probably their high spot. They got Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas. but I just think Jameis doesn't have it in him to stand up to this defense. So, boys and girls, this might seem like some crazy talk, but this is 5-0. And then we get a gimme. We get a gimme with the Raiders. Sorry, Raiders fans, but all y'all got is Carr and Waller. You got some pieces on defense that just can't seem to come together. You had a pretty bad draft, especially. I mean, just throwing away a first round pick like that is pretty bad. I mean, I honestly thought Sam Cosmi should have won well before Alex Leatherwood, let alone Christian Darrisaw and Tevin Jenkins and everybody else you took him before. But Raiders, I mean, they're at this point, they're just, man, they look worse off than we did a couple years ago. Like, they just look lost. And that's just another gimme. 6-0. Washington is 6-0 at this point. I mean, if Rodgers is in Green Bay, that's a chance for a loss. But otherwise, we're looking at 6-0 coming out. And people start to believe. And the bandwagon swells. Yeah. Then we go to the Falcons. Now, this is going to be a tough test for our defense. You got Matt Ryan slinging the ball to Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and now Kyle Pitts. And Frank Darby, too. Frank Darby's a nice little slot guy. And he's got some speed, so, I mean, don't count him out either. But defensively, they don't have much. And as great as that offense can be, as I've said before, it comes down, it's not how good is your quarterback, it's whose defense can affect the other quarterback the most. And Jamin showed us last year that he can cover Kyle Pitts a little bit. He showed us that in college. So when he's got all this extra help, all this nickel we play, these extra safeties down there, like, I think we could actually shut the great Kyle Pitts down a little bit. But yeah, man. I know I'm sounding crazy here. But 7-0. I legitimately believe this. I'm not delusional. I believe this. We could go 7-0. Especially if Rodgers isn't playing for Green Bay. I think 7-0 is very, very possible. 7-0 is looking pretty likely to me. Wait, that's 7? Yep. So, yeah, we would have played Philly after, like I said, we beat 8-0 because we would have beat Philly as well. So at this point, I did Philly at the beginning instead of doing it in order. So at this point, we're at week 8. We beat Atlanta. Then we have a bye. And we're feeling good. We're riding high. We're 8-0 going into the bye. Coming out of the bye, though, Patty Mahomes comes to FedEx. Now, if we were playing the Kansas City Chiefs that played against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, I have no doubt in my mind we would destroy them. Even as great as Pat Mahomes is. But they saw the chink in his armor, his Achilles heel. And they made damn sure they went out and covered that shit. They went out and threw ridiculous amounts of resources at getting depth and quality at the offensive line. Depth and quality offensive line, that's not a problem that Pat Mahomes is going to have to run into again. So with him and all of his explosive weapons and us coming out of the bye and maybe being a little high on ourselves, and we're still a really young team. This is where we get smacked with a dose of reality right here. I mean, their defense is not that great. I mean, they got like Tyrann Mathieu. They got some young but talented linebackers. They just don't have a whole lot to offer on defense. But I think they're still a very productive defense, but not the best. But still, I think Pat Mahomes comes out, makes magic happen, catches us sleeping. We probably have a game like we had against Brady where the defense just looked underwhelming. But against Pat Mahomes, he light us up a lot worse. So that's our first loss. Be 8-1. That ain't bad, 8-1 is not bad. So then after that, we're like, damn, we took our first L of this season. We're down. We're not too down though, 8-1. We're still feeling all right, but we're a little down. But we're more pissed than anything. And then we go to Carolina, and you know what? Ron wants to win. He wants to beat his former team. And we're pissed off anyway. They got a good bit of first rounders on their defense too. And they got some good second rounders. They got first rounders like Burns and Brown and now J.C. Horn. Then they got some good second rounders like Yos Matos. What is it? Gross Matos? Yator Gross Matos, whatever his name is. He's a good pass rusher. Then Jeremy Chin, they got him. And they added Hassan Reddick. So, they have some good defensive pieces. And they've got a pretty decent offensive line. But, dog, it ain't enough. They added some great weapons in the draft. They added Terrence Marshall. They got Tommy Tremble. They got Shy Smith. But we're going to have Darnold seeing ghosts. We're going to be pissed off. Ron wants to beat his old team. We're going to want to beat anybody we can get our hands on. I think we go in there and just demolish the Panthers. A really, really good football team. I think we make an example out of them. It's not going to be easy, but I think especially with Sam Darnold at quarterback, we can definitely decimate him psychologically early on and just have the whole game tumble into place. And then we're 9-1. And then Tom Brady comes knocking on the door. The guy that sent us home from the playoffs last year. Buccaneers. He's got his nice complement of weapons up there. He's got his beautifully balanced defense. This team is it's just perfectly balanced. But they're not getting past us this time. Not this time. We almost had them. We were competitive when Taylor, was starting with, hardly any reps in practice. When our defense just laid an egg, that was the worst our defense had played all year. I mean, it was just bad. So, at this point, I think we thrash them. I mean, Tom Brady, their defense might keep us from scoring much, but I think we're going to keep Tom Brady to less. He's got a good offensive line, but we have a dominant defense now. I think we're going to cause him into making mistakes, and I think we beat the Buccaneers. So, what are we, 11-1 at this point? Let me check it here. Yeah, 11-1. Crazy. People are losing their fucking minds if we go 11-1. Like, how would you react? Like, think about it. We're going to be going nuts, and rightfully so. And I see this happening, man. Barring catastrophic injuries and all that other horrible shit, this is the way I see the season going. Then next up, we play the Chargers. They come to us. Week 14, the Chargers come to us. We're 11-1. And we dropped the ball. Yeah, we dropped the ball here. I think if Joey Bosa actually stays healthy, him with Linval Joseph, I mean, they could do good. We get the little Chase Young storyline against his nemesis, Rashawn Slater. Derwin James out there, and Justin Herbert just slinging the rock. I don't know. I just think we lose this one. I mean, people could argue there are other teams I said we were going to beat that. It's like, well, if you're going to beat them, why can't you beat the Chargers? I think the Chargers are a team on a huge upswing. They got a great young quarterback, and they got some real superstar pieces. Like, it reminds me of how, like, Green Bay was constructed when Aaron Rodgers won his Super Bowl early in his career. Like, I feel like they're like the, was that like 2011 Packers? Like, I feel like that's how they're built. And, yeah, then we're 11-2 at that point. And Washington football fan, it hurts me to say this, but we beat the Packers because Aaron Rodgers is gone. And here we are we'll have a brief reprieve from that. We're gonna drop a game to the Chargers. Then we're gonna come back and finish off our sweep on Philly. So we'll beat Philly and be 12-2, right? 12-2, 13-2. Be 13-2 after beating Philly. Then we got to go to Mile High Stadium. And that's where Mr. Rogers is going to be calling his neighborhood, I'm pretty sure, this year. So, if Aaron Rodgers goes to Denver, it's not looking good for us. That's what I'm counting for. That's why I counted the Packers win for us, because Rodgers is gone. And his most likely landing spot is Denver. And they have too many weapons on offense. They got a pretty good line. Their defense has a lot of great pieces in place. And I think it'd be a tough one. But playing in Mile High is going to suck. And then if Aaron Rodgers is there, that's another one. We're taking an L there. And then luckily we got Dallas again. And like I said, we're going to clean sweep the division. So, pretty easy again. I think Dallas is going to be in a horrible shape by this time of the season. they're going to be in bad shape. They're going to have a lot of their offensive line's going to be all broke down. Like everything's going to gone to shit by this point, by week 17, and we're going to kick the shit out of Dallas. And then last week, I mean, we're going to the playoffs. It's all sewed up, and we got to play the Buffalo Bills. And we got our division one up. Hell, we might be looking at like a bye or something with this record. Yeah, we're like 13 and 3 at this point, according to my predictions. We're 13 and 3 going into week 18. I think that might be bye worthy in the NFC. But we go in there against the Bills, and we lay an egg. The Bills, they're pretty rounded team. Josh Allen's a beast. He's got some great offensive weapons, and he can make plays under pressure. He's got decent protection to go along with that. They have a good defense, and they made it better in the offseason. I think we take another L. Especially if we do have everything sewed up and we didn't get a bye, but we got everything sewed up, then we're going to rest some guys. Probably rest some guys, and we're going to take this L and finish the season 13 and 4. That's my prediction for our season. People are going to think I'm batshit crazy. But I honestly look at this team and I look at this schedule, and as hard as this schedule looks, in my heart of hearts and full honesty, looking at it, I only see 4 teams on this schedule that I think can beat us or will beat us. I mean, there's an off chance that 1 or 2 of these guys might beat us. I don't think our division has it in them. I really don't. After this offseason, I don't think anybody in our division has it in them. So we're going to sweep the division. And then the Raiders, the Saints without Drew Brees, Green Bay without Rodgers, what poor Russell Wilson is working with. The most, like, if Denver doesn't get Rodgers, we crush them. Just putting that out there. But I think they're going to get Rodgers. If we don't, they will. And if we get Rodgers, this might be undefeated season. So that's completely different. But yeah, 13 and 4 season. I mean, we could lose. I wouldn't say any more than. I don't see us losing more than 6 games this season. Worst case scenario. The absolute worst of the worst situation, we lose 6 games. That's worst. The 4 I named, and then the Buccaneers, and yeah, I can't even say Green Bay because, I mean, the only way Denver wins is if Green Bay loses, because the only, if Rodgers is playing for one or the other, whichever one of those 2 teams has Rodgers has the best chance of winning. And if Rodgers is on Denver, he has the best chance of beating us. Otherwise, we could beat him at Green Bay. But yeah, so that's my video, my crazy projections. Once again, 13 and 4. You guys, like I said, If you think I'm crazy, let me know down below. Fans of other teams, I know you're going to tell me I'm an idiot, but take a good look at the offseason. What you did, what you have, what your team looked like last year, and tell me I'm wrong. But thanks for watching. I love you guys. Peace.